Oh, well, thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it was a good time, right?
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean,
Did you?
I kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I
Yeah, I did.
I think I did.
It was,
I think I did.
yeah,
It was fine.
It's good.
It was good. Whew, but yeah, man. Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, I like that.
For sure.
Like
Yeah,
that.
good to
Let
see
me
you.
know.
Yeah,
You too, man.
Yeah.
Take
Good to
care.
see you.
Safe trip home.
All right. See ya.
Fools say now you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words and I might teach you. Take on.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Tavern Talk by Initial Reaction. I'm Philip, and joining me this week, Mr. Keith Garlington. Thank you for being here, sir.
No, it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
I appreciate you inviting me. We've been trying to hook this up for a while,
I know,
and the
right?
schedule's just been all over the place. So.
Well, I definitely wanted to have Keith on because Keith runs his own website, Keith in the Movies. If you need a good resource for reviews on recent releases and all kinds of movie news, really, check out keithinthemovies.com. But also, we kind of knew of each other, but we met last year at an Arkansas Cinema Society event, and just kind of hit it off and like talking movies. So I'm glad we finally, made this happen.
Yep, you saved me with a couple of really good pictures after my phone went out.
Yeah.
So, Bailed me out.
There's a great, if you go to Keith in the Movies, the Twitter, you'll see one of those pictures. It's pretty awesome.
Right.
But and really excited to have you here tonight because we are talking about what is definitely my most anticipated movie of the fall, if not one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and that's Todd Phillips' Joker. This is a DC Comics movie, but it's not related to like Man of Steel or Batman v Superman or like Aquaman, Shazam, Wonder Woman. It has no relation to those DC movies, but this is still a Joker origin story. It obviously stars Joaquin Phoenix, also Robert De Niro, Brett Cullen, Zazie Beetz, Shea Wiggum, Bill Camp. A lot of character actors in there that you'll recognize. But a lot of controversy around this one, a lot to talk about around this one.
Yeah, for sure.
But just kind of starting out with gut reaction. We just got out of this movie maybe 15 minutes ago. What's your initial reaction to Joker?
Oh, wow, that's a question.
Right, I know. There's a lot.
It gives you a lot to try to digest. There's a lot of things in this movie, a lot of things going on, a lot of things under the surface.
Yeah.
A lot of things that may not be what they appear to be. There's just a lot of things that Phillips does to kind of get in your head, and not just that, but also get under your skin. And for me, it was very effective because I think you and I both sort of had that same reaction.
Yeah.
When after the movie, we kind of looked over at each other, and I believe you said that you were visibly shaking.
I
was kind of to the point where, and I sarcastically said, "Yeah, I just want to go hug everyone," which that's the exact opposite way you feel. I mean, It is a very, it starts in a dark place. Mm-hmm. But where it ends up is it just steadily goes down from there. Yeah. There's not a glimmer of light anywhere in this movie. So anyone that's kind of going to it expecting to have some type of normal superhero movie experience, be warned, don't come to this movie with those expectations because this is not what Joker is.
Right. No. And that's kind of an interesting place to start because this isn't, it is technically a comic book movie. It's definitely not a superhero movie. It's technically a comic book movie, but and as you may have heard, like Phillips is drawing serious inspiration from 70s era Scorsese. King of Comedy and Taxi Driver are titles that have been repeated a lot, and to the point that Robert De Niro is in this,
right.
And you can definitely see where that's coming, especially like aesthetically.
And it's almost like his King of Comedy character hey, he actually made it.
Yeah,
Because here he is now as a talk show
He's the
host.
Jerry Lewis character.
Right,
Yeah.
he's the Jerry Lewis character.
Right, and so that's definitely there, but this is very much and it is very much a character study, like Taxi Driver is.
Right.
But set within this comic book world of this character we've all known for, this character's been around since the 40s or so, I think the Joker entered Batman comics maybe like a year after Batman originally came out. So this character's been around for a long time, and one of the things that's always been appealing about the Joker and kind of made him this mythical villain is that his origin has always been ambiguous.
Exactly.
And so it's like, this is really, it's really kind of it's a shot in the dark as if this was going to work or not. And so, and we kind of touched on that beforehand. Do you think, knowing now what this movie kind of explains to us as the origin of this villain, is satisfying? Or are you kind of sad the mystique has been, or the curtain has been lifted?
Well, it's an interesting question, and yeah, we did talk about it a little bit before, and I made mention that one of the things that concerned me was that sort of removing that veil of mystery, because one of the things that really made him such a menacing character is that you couldn't diagnose his madness.
Right.
I mean, you didn't know where this guy was coming from, and the comic books have had different attempts at sort of giving some type of backstory or something. But even comic book continuity is it's not very reliable because they retcon this, and so he sort of maintained the mystery at big picture.
Right.
And one of the things, matter of fact, about Heath Ledger in Christopher Nolan's is there was a ton of mystery behind him.
Yeah.
And he would tell some origin stories about how he got the scars.
Right.
And they were always different.
There's always a different story.
And
Right. Yeah.
none of them were probably correct, so you could not get into his mind.
Yeah.
In this movie, you do see that veil removed. But the interesting thing was, to me, there was still a lot of question marks. And we can't go into those things because of spoilers, but there's still some mystery. You still are not 100% sure where he came from. They sort of leave that open-ended a little bit, but we do see a lot. And for me, I thought it was effective. We see that, society's sort of crumbling around him. We see his home life is not good. And it really is a movie that's far more about sort of the class structure.
Yes.
And it puts warfare into class warfare.
Yeah.
And it's a little heavy-handed at times.
It is.
But
yeah.
It does make sense where he's coming from. And I really didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was pretty effective.
No, yeah, I'm right there with you on that, because there were a couple scenes where I wish he hadn't have put like certain insert shots to like reinforce his point.
Exactly.
I was like, no, I got it, we got it.
Yeah.
Trust us a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. Like, I was very excited, obviously, for this movie, but just because of what I said earlier about anticipating it so heavily. But I was also very nervous about learning this, what might be a definitive story, and not being satisfied by it.
Yeah.
But you're right. I hadn't really considered, just coming out of it and everything. I hadn't really considered the. I'm just gonna say, go ahead. I'm just gonna throw up a spoiler warning, because I do.
It's almost impossible to talk.
It really is.
Getting into
so if you haven't seen Joker, know that we're gonna kind of get into. We're not gonna like spoil it. We're not gonna go into plot points and details heavily, but we're just gonna discuss a few things that you might consider spoilery and you might not want to know before you see it. So if you haven't seen it yet, go see it, then come back and watch the rest of the review. But what I was gonna say is, you're right. Because of the perspective, or like the narration, I guess you could say, or the perspective from which it's told, it's an unreliable narrator. I mean, he's completely. This is completely Arthur Fleck's movie and Joaquin Phoenix's movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it is totally from his perspective, how he sees things, and we are given enough hints throughout to know that the way he sees things isn't necessarily how other people are going to see them.
Because he leads us down some roads that prove not to be very reliable.
Yes.
And again, we're dancing around things.
Yeah.
But And to me, that's sort of a key part of it. And that's kind of the way it digs into his psyche, too. You know, you start seeing in his mind and placing us in his mind. We see things kind of the way he sees it, only to have the rug pulled out from under us. I thought it was really effective. And again, as far as just filmmaking and storytelling, it really kind of plays with you a little bit, because then you start thinking, well, did I see that right?
Yeah.
Am I interpreting that right? And it's not ambiguous for the sake of being ambiguous. It's not just toying with us or anything. It's literally kind of gets in our head and plays around with us and says, you know, how do you interpret this? Is he crazy?
Right, yes.
Well, obviously he's crazy, but is he seeing this? Is this accurate? Did this happen? And I kind of fell for that.
Well, and like kind of even further, like a lot of the talk around this is, does it make us feel sympathy for this guy who, and kind of like, does it? Yeah. I mean, there were definitely instances in this movie where there are people who are just cruel to him for the sake of being cruel. There are definitely instances of that, and that inspires him to kind of be pushed further. Right.
And everything does kind of do that. It kind of pushes him a little further. And there are a couple of big events that are sort of monumental shifts in his sort of spiral downward. But yeah, I mean, you're right. There are people who are just bad people, just mean people, and in a sense, he is the product of that. And he's kind of a mirror of the worst of society. And as Philip sort of shows on screen, society starts just sort of decaying, eroding right in front of our eyes, and he's kind of the picture of that.
Yeah, he definitely comes to symbolize this movement, as it's kind of phrased in the movie. But like, yes, it makes us feel sort of a sympathy for him, which is something you don't. I don't know that you've never felt sympathy for the Joker before. I mean, I feel like there has been times, whether it was in the 90s animated series, because I remember watching that as a kid and feeling like there were flashbacks of Joker origin where we were kind of made. But does this movie make an excuse for the character? And I don't know that it does that.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think
so either. And that was a lot of the issues leading up, a lot of the bad press, and a lot of the concerns were that it's really a movie that kind of condones violence and incites violence and could provoke. And I'm kind of on the fence with that, because I guess someone that was really sort of in that headspace, maybe they could see it as something like, it's hard for me to say.
Yeah, that's the thing.
On the flip side, as far as a movie, I don't think that's the message at all. And again, we sort of get back to that. Sort of how reliable is what we're seeing.
Right.
How reliable is it? Is it really what's happening? Is it really what he sees? And again, I'm going to leave it at that. But I don't think it condones violence. I don't think it's saying it's okay. I don't think it's putting a stamp of approval on it at all.
See, I don't either, and I think people definitely, as you should with every movie, see it before you make a decision about it or come to a verdict about it. But well, like you were saying, like after I was like, God, that was because there are moments towards the end where a person in a different state of mind than us or you or I could certainly be like, I don't even want to like speak it into existence almost, but like they could be, like riled up by it.
Right, because it doesn't sugarcoat anything.
No, it doesn't.
It's a very straightforward, depiction of this man, this very mentally frail man, just spiraling out of control. It doesn't pull any punches.
No, I was surprised by how real it felt.
Yeah.
Given this is a technically a comic book movie, it is a big studio, fall release. Like, it did genuinely surprise me how just, even more so than the Nolan movies, maybe, just how gritty it was.
Gritty and raw.
Yeah, raw is a great word for it.
Really.
Yes.
And of course, a lot of that, and I'm sure we're probably going to talk about it, comes from Phoenix.
Yeah, we do. What I was going to say on that, finishing that thought about, it could rile some people up, but like you were saying, I would say, it was unsettling. It was like those sequences where it is so raw and real are truly unsettling, and that's coming from someone, both of us see movies regularly. We see movies every week almost, and it's hard to get actually rattled by a movie anymore.
For sure.
And this, once this reaches the third act and like really takes off, there are sequences where I was seriously rattled. And
one more thing too on as far as does this condone, is the controversy legitimate? A lot of that I think depends on how you interpret it. Because for me, a lot of what some people may say was inciting violence or encouraging it, I saw it totally different. I thought it was a really dark and disturbing, sort of portrait of what we could become. I mean, again, I'll say that again, it got under my skin. It was really uncomfortable and really harsh and dour. I just, I guess you could take it another way.
Well, that's what I was kind of getting at. Like,
think.
you said you just wanted to like give everybody a hug, and I was like, it's kind of reverse psychology, and that's how I felt. Like,
exactly.
I just wanted to like be the opposite of what that was showing society could be. Like, it's just like,
After I had a good
prove that
cry.
wrong.
After I cried, I mean, listen, I went and cried.
Yeah, no, it could certainly be extremely discouraging and like, what are we doing? Why are we doing? But on the opposite end, it could be like, let's just try to fight that in like the most positive way possible.
Right.
And you hope that's what the majority of people take out of it. At least I hope they do.
Yeah.
But no, so obviously we have to touch on the performance of Joaquin Phoenix. He is, like I was saying, this is his movie. There are other actors in it. There are other characters in it. But this solely rests on the shoulders of Joaquin Phoenix.
Yep.
The very fragile shoulders of Joaquin Phoenix.
Very fragile.
Yeah, he physically, it's a drastic transformation.
And let me ask you this, wasn't his last movie, what was it? You Were Never, I always get that title.
Yeah, You Were Never Really Here. It is a great
Here.
movie. If you haven't seen that, check it out, because it's kind of a weird precursor to this.
But also he had gained a lot of weight for that.
Yeah.
And now he goes to the completely opposite end of the spectrum.
I was shocked at how skinny he actually was.
Gosh.
Like, I knew he'd lost weight for it, but he is deathly frail.
Yes, and there are 2 or 3 scenes in particular that they sort of show that off. And it's disturbing. Even that sort of gets to you. Yeah,
it sets the tone for entering his like psyche, because like you were talking about Heath Ledger's scars and everything, and there's no like physical scars here really, but like his physical appearance sets the stage for his psychological scars.
Right.
And so, but no, I mean, if you've seen, or if you pay attention to movies, Joaquin Phoenix is a very highly regarded actor, and I don't think there was any doubt he was going to do something special, unique, interesting with this role. I wasn't sure what that was going to be, and even like halfway through the movie, I was still kind of like, where's this? What's he going to go? He has this condition where he where he laughs
like
uncontrollably,
to the point of gagging.
Yes.
Yeah, that was, and he has this card. This is not to spoil it, but he has this card because he can't quit laughing.
Right.
And you notice at the end of it, it says, "And kindly return the card." So that's the only way he can communicate when he has one of these fits. He hands people these cards. But it's just a weird sort of. And someone questions him at one time even, is it real?
Right.
You really have this? And again, it's just.
You still don't know.
You still don't know.
You don't know.
And I love that. But yeah, I mean, Phoenix, and whether you like him or not, no one can deny that he is one of the most intense and one of the most committed actors to a role. Once he agrees to a role, gets his claws in it, I mean, he goes for broke. I mean, and boy, does he here.
Yeah. Joaquin Phoenix is, I mean, he's, definitely one of those actors, like you said, who's not afraid to go there. And like I said, I was kind of unsure what he was going to do with the character, but and as much as I was kind of afraid to get too much information on Joker's backstory and kind of what provoked him to become this character, I think Phoenix's performance plays a large part in the movie really letting us into his mind and getting to know him in a way that's satisfying but still extremely unsettling.
Exactly, because one of the things that stood out to me is, yes, a lot of that mystery's gone, but because of Phoenix's performance and also the script gives him a lot of room to really kind of flesh this guy out. But mainly because of Phoenix, he's still menacing.
Yeah.
He's still terrifying. And let me just throw this out there too. Taking the role of the Joker couldn't have been an easy task,
No.
because there's been, you had Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger obviously won an
Right.
Oscar for it, but then you had Leto, which didn't go so well.
Yeah.
And so for him to come in and take on this role, this guy's so big in pop culture,
Right.
and that's got sort of especially here lately, kind of a hit or miss.
Yeah, I mean, it carries
portrayal.
a lot of
Wasn't
weight.
easy.
You're right.
He
Yeah,
nails it.
there's a expectation for it to be different, but still deliver on what people expect from it. And so, I can imagine it's a daunting task for sure. And we should mention, like you were saying, the script is strong, considering this is it is largely a character study, and it just it's a comic book movie technically, but it doesn't have your traditional heroes and villains and
Right, it
building
doesn't seem-
to a third
yeah,
act showdown that you
Right.
know
It doesn't
is
seem
inevitably
tied to any
coming.
conventions that we've
No.
kind of become used to
Right.
in that genre. It really isn't tied to anything.
No.
I mean, it is like they gave him free reign to kind of, for Phillips to kind of put this thing together. And Phillips then, of course, lets his main actor go.
Right.
I mean, he really lets him take off, and
Yeah,
that's
and
a strength.
Yeah, no, it's, and we. I just wanted to mention that we're talking about Phillips. Todd Phillips is the director of this, and he's largely been a comedic director.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who made Old School and Starsky and Hutch and the Hangover trilogy, and then like Due Date and War Dogs were his more recent films. But he's always kind of had an edge to his comedy. There's been some controversy this week about him and stuff he said, and that's whatever. But as a filmmaker, he's always had a very cinematic eye, and always had a kind of taste for this edgy comedy that likes to. I think he just enjoys pushing people's buttons
He
in
likes to
general.
provoke.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so I think that kind of mentality mixed with the character of the Joker is a pretty solid match, and
for sure.
and it I think that really shows on the screen, and also it is. I really should have looked up the cinematographer, because it really is a beautiful movie as
Oh, it
well.
is. It is.
Just visually.
Yeah, it
There's
is.
some both chilling but just fantastic shots.
And it also does a good job of sort of capturing the city again, especially the part of the city we're in.
Yeah.
Sort of the outskirts, sort of the poorer area. It really stands out. I mean, the different things like there's some of these tracking shots where he's running down the sidewalk,
Yeah.
and there's like piles of garbage, and even the color palette kind of contributes to this whole feeling of this just city that's on the decline.
Yeah.
And
It's got this very yellow hue
yeah,
to it.
exactly.
That's
That's it. And the cinematography I thought was outstanding.
So Phillips also wrote the screenplay with Scott Silver, who's written things like The Fighter and 8 Mile. And then we were talking about the cinematographer. I wanted to point them out. Lawrence Sher. He looks like he shot The Hangover, so he might be one of Phillips's crew that he works with usually. But yeah, no, it's a beautiful movie to look at, even though the content can get pretty ugly at times.
Yeah.
But no, it's a difficult one to dissect, especially kind of trying to get all your thoughts out, so soon after digesting it. But here on Tavern Talk, we do out of 5 stars. So if you were to give an initial reaction rating to Joker, what would you go?
Wow.
I know,
Okay.
it's
I know, nature of the beast. That's what we do, initial reaction. And this is subject to change Monday, because I'm not going to put a review up before then.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to stew on this.
Let
a
it,
little bit. But I'm kind of right there at a strong 4 stars. I'm even leaning more towards 4.5.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's more I do need to think about. But yeah, a good solid 4.
Yeah.
Which is, I'll be perfectly honest, it was, I sort of let my concerns get to me. It was good. It was a nice surprise.
Yeah, I wish this was more interesting and we disagreed so that the conversation could go in more places. But yeah, no, I'm like, honest to God, I'm right there with you, because I am kind of leaning towards the strong end of 4.5. I don't know that it touches greatness.
Yeah.
But it's, and like you said, I really need to let it stew. There are moments I imagine I'll get goosebumps every time.
Yeah.
And so that says a lot. I don't know that it struck me emotionally hard enough to be like just this, for me to consider it this great movie.
Yeah.
But
I
it's,
understand.
it's really good. It's, especially with all the expectation I carried into it, for it to just feel like, man, this is good, and it's very much a lot of what I wanted it to be. And I don't know that you could have made a Joker origin story much better than this. I don't know how, like, seeing it makes me say, oh, I don't know another way you could have potentially done this. And so I guess that is saying something in itself. So I'm gonna go right there with you. I'm gonna go 4 as well. So I think that's definitely a strong recommend from both Keith and I for Joker.
But it's not for kids.
No, this is a rated R movie.
It's the
not
R rating.
even,
It's deserved. It's not for kids. So.
And this isn't Deadpool R-rated comic book movie. This is grim and dirty and
dark subject matter.
Yes, it's not one you're gonna go home and be like, man, I really enjoyed that popcorn.
Right.
That was a real highlight of that experience.
Right.
You're just gonna kind of be like, I don't really feel like that right now. I don't know if that's necessarily what you want from a movie, but it's an interesting, or from a time where you're supposed to be trying to escape, but
But you can escape with movies like that.
Yeah.
When the story's, it's got a story to tell.
Yes, no, definitely. I think it's definitely one worth seeing, and one worth seeing on the big screen. Like
I think so too.
We were talking about the cinematography and just some of the intensity and beauty in some of the shots, and it's definitely worth seeing on the biggest screen possible. So definitely venture out if you're interested at all. I think you'll be rewarded by the experience of it.
I agree.
And if you're near a movie tavern, we get to see these movies every week and review these movies from the movie tavern. So if you're near one, definitely visit it, check it out. It's a really cool, unique experience. You get to, come into these nice, luxurious theaters with comfy seating and order a meal. You just hit that button right there. An attentive waiter will come up, take your order, bring you your food, all while you're watching the movie. And the disturbance is kept to a minimum, so you still get to enjoy the film. Doesn't bother anybody around you. And hopefully, if you get a movie as good as Joker, you'll enjoy the viewing experience as well. So definitely check out Movie Tavern if you have one near you, and check out Keith's website, keithandthemovies.com. Keith, I just appreciate you, coming out here and doing this.
We'll have to do it again sometimes.
Absolutely. Anytime you want to, see a movie and chat about it, this was definitely a good one to talk about. I'm glad you were here for it. So thanks for making the trip.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you guys once again. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. We try to publish a new review of the biggest release every week. So definitely check out the rest of the channel if you've seen any other recent releases. We probably did a review for it. So, do all that good stuff. You can catch us on all the social medias.
He does a great job.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. But no, thank you. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next week.